In this video, we're going to look at the differences between ensemble files and instrument files. So when you initially load Reactor, what you'll find is a blank window, and you'll need to create a new ensemble by going to the File menu, or this drop down also allows you to do it, or we can actually load up existing content. So if I open up the factory library here, I'm just going to go down to Effects, and let's double click on Echomania. Now if you notice, the suffix says .ens, and that indicates it's an ensemble file. Let's double click, and you can hear we've now added delay to my voice. So this is actually loaded up on Ensemble. If I now look inside the ensemble by clicking here on the breadcrumb, we can then look at the structure, and we can see there's a little box here with a keyboard icon. So this is actually an instrument. So an ensemble is the main framework. I suppose it's like the rack in a modular rack setup, and within to that you can then load up multiple instruments. In this example, I've just got one instrument. Now the term instrument is just a way of describing it. It could be an effect, it could be a groove box, it could be a synthesizer, a whole manner of things, but it's just a term. So an ensemble can actually contain one instrument, or it can contain multiple instruments, and we could set that up so they're all triggered through separate MIDI channels. There's lots of different ways to configure it. The ensemble also handles the audio in and also out of Reactor, so whether that goes directly to your audio interface, or if you're loading it up as a plugin, it will then handle it directly to your DAW. If I click away in this grey area, we can also see where I'm clicking. So you need to have the Properties tab here selected, this little icon here, so you can see I've essentially selected the ensemble, or I can click on the instrument and you now see that relates to the instrument. So depending on where you click is what settings you get access to, and then you can customize either the ensemble or instrument depending on what you're trying to achieve. If I were to double click on an instrument, then we look at what's known as the primary level. So an ensemble is the top level, within an instrument is what's known as the primary level, and instruments are generally comprised of macros and modules, which we'll be looking at in a later video. To get back out of this somewhat scary looking window, you can either click on the breadcrumb view up here, or you can just click anywhere in the background and that will take you back out to the main ensemble view. If I load something like a synthesizer, so we looked at Junatic before. So this is the panel for Junatic, and if we want to look in the structure view, click there on the breadcrumb, and then we can see there's actually two instruments within Junatic. The actual synthesizer itself, and then it's routed also through a stereo delay before it then goes to the audio outputs. As this is a synthesizer, there's no need for audio inputs, and the MIDI is handled by the specific MIDI input modules. The other thing I should just reinforce is related to snapshots. So if I click on the snapshot icon here, now snapshots can be stored in the ensemble level, but also at the instrument level as well. So if you remember, we've got two different instruments here. So if we click on this menu here, you can see we've got ensemble Junatic, the Junatic instrument, which is this one, or the stereo delay. And as I choose those, you can see they've actually got different snapshot menus. So what this allows us to do essentially is perhaps choose a different delay for a specific synth sound, or I can choose a different synth sound for whatever delay, or using the ensemble snapshots, and that will store the settings for both instruments together. And that is the most common way to recall snapshots, and you can see it affecting both this synth and also the delay parameters down here. We can't actually see the delay parameters because they're minimized. If I click on this button here, we can now see those parameters as I call up different snapshots. So just to recap, the ensemble is the top level, and that can hold a whole range of different instruments within it. Those could be from the Reactor factory library, or they could also be from blocks, which we'll be looking at in this lesson.